Hi everyone and welcome back to Path of Exile, Arch Nemesis League, and my build has changed considerably. So, here's what happened. I basically was at the point where I was like, I have played too much and I don't know if I want to continue with the league, right? I said, okay, you know what? I will sell off a couple of gear pieces that I have, and if I make 2x out of that, I will re-roll. And that's what happened. So, we are down to 8x and 150 chaos. But we have made some investments. I basically tried out a different build, and then I was like, do you know what? I want to go back to Elementalist. I tried out the Poisonous Spark from Mathil, which did work and was a lot of fun, but it was just like, it's self-cast again, and I really do not like Spark. And I want to go back. I want to go back to something that's very familiar, that I've been working on quite a bit. And yeah, Freezing Pulse is back, baby. So, I have changed up a couple of things about my Freezing Pulse build, and we will just run a tier 16 Burial Chambers. It's not too badly run. It's not too badly rolled. That's what I wanted to say. And you have a couple of scarabs in here. Divination, obviously, for this map, right? Sulfite, because I spent 60k sulfite to reach level 95 on this character. A cartography scarab for the moment, and a metamorph one, just to have some fun. We take the Searing not the Searing Exarch, the Eater of Worlds with us. I haven't tested it with those mobs on the map, so I really want to do that. I'm currently running after Maven. So yeah, let's try it out with this one. And I think the rest we will just leave and just go with that. So, you can see one of the things that I've changed up about this build, and it is the Dying Sun, right? So without First Snow, we need more projectiles. This gives us 2 during the flask effect, and hopefully we can keep the flask up a little bit better. This is still like baby gear for the most part. There are a couple of very important gear pieces that we will go over. I made some discoveries again with this build, and as you can see so far, we aren't doing that badly. Oh, someone wants to buy something for 5C. I guess if he joins, we will fulfill that trade. Doesn't seem like it, so we just leave. Yeah, we are using Frost Shield. That helps us with sustainability, but it also helps us with crit, actually, which is very nice, right? We basically are able to drop the Diamond Flask. That was one thing that I really wanted to do, was get rid of the Diamond Flask. Ooh, Divine Orb, nice. I don't like to rely on flasks to get my damage, right? I do rely on it quite a bit here on the defensive side of things, which I'm more okay with, because during mapping, it's not too bad in keeping those flasks up, as long as we are able to just continue through the map at a normal pace. And yeah, we are not like very fast at the moment. Maybe the Witch is actually the wrong choice for that, right? Because basically all we have is Flame Dash as well as the movement speed on our boots, and that's all that we are able to rely on. So we might re-roll our Quicksilver Flask at some point. We are using Frostbomb to proc exposure, and we are using it with Spell Cascade again. I went back from using the Arcanist brand to handcasting Frostbomb just to test it out, and honestly the amount of map that you can control with Frostbomb is just, it's so nice, especially in boss fights where the bosses are moving. It just really helps. And yeah, DPS-wise, we are looking very good. We are sitting at boss DPS of around 1.7 million, if everything goes our way. But we can talk about that a little bit once we meet the boss, and I can show you what I basically need to do to sustain the barrage of the boss, and yeah. The cool thing is, we are over 90% on our crit chance without Frost Shield, right? So as soon as we activate Frost Shield, I think stage 2 already gives us the 100% crit chance, and I know that I went overboard in regards to crit, but as I said, I don't want to rely on a flask to give me the crit chance that I would like to have, and I just want to have 100% crit chance on this build because we have an insane amount of crit multi on this build. It's like against bosses, we do gain a little bit more against bosses, by the way. That's just from one of the masteries, right? So we are on over 500% crit multi against bosses, and that's honestly insane. So yeah, we traded in the reflect immunity, but here's what I mean, what we need to get going against bosses. We want the Frost Shield to protect us and give us 100% crit. We want to cast Frostbomb from time to time, that enables the exposure, and we also want to cast Sniper's Mark on our boss as well. That will actually increase the projectile damage, but also, very conveniently, enables us to get 10% Culling Strike. And as you can see, that was a pretty long fight against the tier 16 boss, and it just goes to show that even though it is a 1.7 million DPS, some bosses just will eat through the time. That is just honestly how it goes. We might come back for the league mechanic at some point, I don't know, but yeah. So let's discuss a couple of things. Now, as you saw, we were able to heal up quite considerably during just the mapping process of it, right? And that's thankfully a thing that I remembered and stumbled across again, and it has to do with the Katarina helmet. Basically level 15 Feast of Flesh every 5 seconds. What that is doing is, if there are corpses around you, Feast of Flesh will consume the corpses and heal you up for life, mana, and energy shield, right? It's 400 life and ES per corpse and 200 mana per corpse. So on a baseline, we are just leveling up Desecrate right now, but we actually spawn 5 corpses, right? So you can do the math. That's 2000 life and ES, as well as, sorry. No, wait. No, that's right. That's right. Sorry. It's 2k life and ES and 1k mana that we get every not every 4 seconds. I don't know what the cooldown is. Wait a minute. What is the cooldown? Every 5 seconds, right. So every 5 seconds you can consume corpses. That is a huge heal. So why Desecrate? To spawn the 5 corpses, but we couple this with cost and damage taken. We need to take 3.2k damage, which is reasonable for 6.5k health. I like to keep that at a third or at half of my life pool. And once we get damaged in that way, we get Molten Shell to further buff us up against incoming damage, as well as Desecrate, spawn corpses around us, and use the helmet. That happens passively, right? You don't have to do anything for that. And that just heals us up and gives us ES back that we need for casting. The mana isn't that much of an issue right here, but if you ever run out of ES to cast, we have a small slither of mana left, like 147. That's almost enough to keep on casting until the recharge is happening, or we have desecrated a corpse and gained the benefit of Feast of Flesh. So that is one important piece that I've added to this build again. I was testing this last league, as I said. I had this coupled with the Impulsas, so we had to run skitterbots and stuff. This time around, we went for Zealotry, but we also went back to Herald of Ice. Like, Herald of Ice is actually insanely good for us, right? That's what it's not explosions, but you get the corpse removal when you shatter enemies. It is basically explosives, right? So yeah, if you shatter the enemy, which we are doing quite often when we go through trash mobs, right? Zealotry just to help with crit. As I said, I have invested a whole bunch of stuff into crit on this build. I know it might be overboard and other people might prefer to play with the Diamond Flask, but I just wanted to free up that slot, right? We are using Determination and Defiance Banner. You might ask yourselves, hey dude, why don't you use Spell Suppression? Honestly, I just do not have enough room to fit Spell Suppression into this. If I would go for Armor Evasion Hybrid basis, I think we could be able to fit it in, but it's very, very harsh to do. So I was like, you know what, I will have to tank the spells or just try to avoid them. So sadly, no spell suppression for this build. But yeah, right. Other than that, we are still using the same spell crit chest that we were using with the Arc build. It just goes hand in hand. 1.34% to our base spell crit is actually insane. So yeah, we definitely reuse this. And since we had the avoid elemental ailment stuff on our chest, we did make sure to grab another shield to craft that on. We have it on the boots, and no surprise there, we actually have it on the tree as well. So we gain 100% elemental ailment immunity, which is huge for me, honestly. I don't think I will play another build without having ailment immunity, right? So, is there more to say about the gear? Yes and no. This is an 1x wand, so you have +1 to cold spell skill champs. We have crit strike chance as well as crit strike multi and some spell damage in there. The chance to shock, it doesn't matter for us, but that's okay. I have crafted on flat cold damage. Tier 3, that's perfectly fine with me. That's awesome. Like, the damage effectiveness from Freezing Pulse, it's just insane, honestly, how good this is. I really like the changes that they've done. And yeah, so flat cold damage actually helps us out, right? There is an argument to be made to go for an Impulsas and switch Herald of Ice out for Anger, but honestly, with the spell crit chest, I was like, nah, I will stay on Herald of Ice, just for the clear speed, right? It just feels amazing to play. On the shield, I've invested into another, just max life, +1 to cold spell, increased crit. I had some lightning rest on there, which I was very fine with, and this shield did cost me another Exalted, so 2x for shield and wand, right? Pretty decent. The boots, those are the same boots like before. We might go for a couple of enchants at some point. And the Stygian just rerolled it a little bit. We have a little bit of life and cold res, which was what we needed. We have a little bit of strength on here as well, which is good. And the Jade Amulet. Why a Jade Amulet? I just needed the dex, and that was one that I had lying around. And I was like, 87 max life, that's fine. We gain a good couple of attributes through this amulet. That's all we needed to get the build going. Crafted some cast speed on there because cast speed is always helpful, right? I have 2 Vermilion rings. Those are just here to give me life and resistances. That's all. We might switch around the rings at some point again. As I said, those were self-crafted. This is self-crafted. This is just what I had lying around. Yeah, that's honestly it. We have the anoint on here, marked for death. That's the same anoint that I was going for basically always with this build once I discovered it, and it's just calling strike against marked enemies. And you might think, well, wouldn't it be better to maybe spec out of these nodes and go for the arcane potency anoint? And yeah, you could argue that it costs a silver, a black, and a blue oil. In comparison, this one costs you a silver, a purple, and I think it's a sepia one. So yeah, you could do both, basically. The one thing that I added, I know we were on level 90 on our last league's character. I've added these 4 life nodes in here, life in the S nodes, as well as another mastery over here. Just the exposure you inflict at least minus 18%, which is, it works, which is very good. I mean, this is in conjunction with our Mastermind of Discord, right? So that's really, really helpful. I will say I have a couple of things that I've have taken over from our Arc build, or Enki's Arc Witch, right? I basically didn't unspec these 2 nodes because they are just so helpful in gearing your character. I basically do not have any dex or strength on these 2 slots, which are on the rings as well. So yeah, just to ease off the gearing process. Once we have that on our gear though, we can unspec these 2 nodes and take another jewel socket up here, or even the max power charge node over here with a little bit of increased spell damage per power charge. The main thing that I've taken over with is the Watcher's Eye Jewel. This is a single stat jewel, so it was pretty cheap, but it's just crit strikes penetrate 9% of enemy Ellie res while affected by Zealotry. Another penetration is just, that's really, really good, and that's why I wanted to have the 100 or almost 100% crit chance. As you can see, it's 85.55, and you might think, oh, that's not too much. If you cast, Frost Shield, you can see we reach easy 100%. Spell crit multi 501%. Against a unique enemy, there is another 25% that we gain from this mastery over here. So 525% crit multi against unique enemies. That's insane. I really like this. And yeah, I mean, as 85% spell crit chance again while mapping is actually very decent. And if we throw out a couple of frost bombs, we basically gain power charges on crit as well, right? So we are casting everything ourselves except for Molten Shell and Desecrate, which are linked to cost and damage taken. And to further boost our defenses, I mean, we are stacking armor as much as we possibly can. There's always armor and energy shield bases where I can fit them. And we have a granite flask as well as a basalt flask to just further boost our armor. But if we take a look at our armor rating here, 10k without flasks and like not even 18k with flasks, that is not too much, right? But yeah, I might work on that if I think it is too much of a problem. I have to see, honestly, so far it worked fairly okay. The one thing I changed up as well are the gloves. Like, I wanted to have the cold damage leached as life in there and the unnerf on hit, which we were just rolling with the lesser currency here with the Ichors and Embers to achieve that. For the real end game, or like the absolute high-end gear, we would roll those gloves again. Obviously, it's basically just resistances on here, as well as the implicits, but we would roll the implicits better. But that's pretty much it. Maybe I don't know, Unnerf seems to be the best choice there, and cold damage, the life leech is honestly really, really helpful. since our ES is covering our mana, right? Basically, all the damage goes to our life. So that's very helpful, in my opinion, at least. So yeah. Amulet, I was testing it, the Ashes of the Storm, the new amulet, that gives you +1 as well as quality, would actually be a huge DPS increase, and I think it's the amulet that we will go for. Yeah, I think that would be extremely helpful to us, actually. I think it's almost like 200k damage that you gain, and that is actually huge at the moment where we are at, right? Maybe a +2 wand and a +2 shield or something could boost this even further. More cast speed would be very nice, right? That's just like stuff that we can look out for. And it's just, honestly, it was a blast, right? Also, we have this Murderous Eye Jewel here that I need to probably switch out at some point. I would like to get a Facing Jewel into here. Boots, honestly, that would be one of the biggest upgrades to target. If we get something like Tailwind, maybe Tailwind elusive at some point, I'm not too sure, that could help. But certainly just having Tailwind would be a very good addition to this build. And as I said, the enchantments, we could go and do lab some more. I need to check out which is the best frost. Excuse me, needed to mute myself there and had to cough. The best freezing pulse enchantment, because that could be very helpful to us as well at some point to scale this even further. But I mean, as I said, this was just like I wanted to come back to this build, and yeah, I mean, with the buffs they gave to the whole self-cast skills, it's looking better. I reached a certain goal with this build, but now there is this burning question. Can I get this to like 2.5 mil DPS next? And how much will that cost me? So that's kind of the question that I'm trying to answer right now. What is the roadmap for this build? Will it ever be a viable league starter again? For me personally, maybe. Honestly, could be. It could be. But I will say the amount of investment that is in this build, if you would consider to buy a chest like this yourself, I think it's too high to be really a league starter. If you don't like the skill, that is, if you like the skill and you are willing to craft stuff yourself and invest into this character, I think it can actually be viable to league start with this, and that makes me very happy. As I said, I had some trouble with this league so far, with me just playing too much, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna burn myself out if I don't stop now. So I have finally, I took one day off, which was yesterday. I played in the morning, yes, because we played through the night. But then I was through the day, I was like, I'm not gonna play PoE. I will not play in the afternoon or the evening or the night or anything. I will just leave it there. I will let this build sit for another night. And then I woke up today at 5 a.m. and was like, right, let's record a video about this one. And just, yeah, it makes me glad that I can present Freezing Pulse in a way that a lot of people thought is just bad to do. And you know what? I get it. This isn't an efficient build by any means at this point. It isn't very fleshed out. I have made some progress with fleshing out the build. Yes, that's true. The burning question was, do I go for Ellie Reflect Immunity as well as some elemental shield with Primal Ages, or am I going for Convergence? And Convergence is always the one I want to go for when I see, okay, the boss damage isn't really there. But yeah, that's about it about this build. We have a couple of life masteries, the usual ones like increased life, less recovery, that's okay. The flat 50 max life, which are always nice, and I also had to get the regen 2% of life per second while moving. Really helpful. Reservation. We don't need the mana reservation efficiency if we take this whole cluster here, because that's like 2 nodes, and we get a little bit from our helmet, so we are able to get the increased effect. Crit mastery, we are only using the 25 crit multi against uniques because the +3 to level of all crit support gems is actually a bait that I was fallen into. I've now decided against it and go for the spell crit chest, and the results, I like them way more like they are right now. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I have to say for now about the build. I will take it very slow the following week. We might talk about PoE on Thursday. I don't know if I can do a video for Tuesday if I'm taking it slower. We will see. If I just find something very important to talk about this build or so, we might do it. Let me know if you want to have a path of building for this. I have to warn you, I haven't done the leveling trees yet. So if you want the POB, please give me a little bit of time to work it out. We might even do a solo self-found run to level a character up throughout the acts, just so I can get myself sure again which nodes I want to take in which order over here. So that could be very, very helpful. Right, that's definitely it. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care. Bye.